What is a mortgage foreclosure? You hear the words, I know you get excited about it, but what is it? And more importantly, what is the business opportunity in mortgage foreclosures? I bought properties at mortgage foreclosure sales for many, many years. Today, I work in a related business that is an offshoot of that. And I want to give you the down low and download from an attorney and investor today. So get out your notepad and get ready to get the real deal on mortgage foreclosures. So mortgage foreclosure happens because someone didn't pay their monthly mortgage. So when you don't pay your monthly mortgage, after a very short amount of time, the mortgage company is going to call a default and start foreclosure proceedings. Foreclosure proceedings are how they force the property to be sold at a public auction so that the mortgage company can get paid off because they've got to recover their money. And mortgage foreclosures are obviously deadly serious. They work differently in different states. Generally speaking, there are two different ways that mortgage foreclosures work. Number one is judicial foreclosures. You find those on the East Coast in all the original 13 colonies. Those are where, in order to foreclose, a mortgage company has to file a lawsuit in court, get a judgment, and then they hire the sheriff to sell the property. You'll find that in Pennsylvania and again, all the original 13 colonies. That's one method, and I'll get more into details on that in a minute. And the second method is trustees sales. Trustees sales are where somebody called a trustee will sell a property at a public auction because someone didn't pay their deed of trust, which is analogous to a mortgage. Deeds of trust you're going to find in the western states like Arizona, California, all those western states. It's a simpler system than the judicial foreclosure system, and it's a faster foreclosure system. Because a trustee, if they're not paid, sends out notice to the borrower, hey, you didn't pay your mortgage, and if you don't pay, we're going to go ahead and sell the property at an auction. They don't have to file a lawsuit. There's not an automatic right to file an answer to the lawsuit and just delay things. So foreclosures in deed of trust states are faster and a little simpler, although from the perspective of a bidder, it doesn't really make that much of a difference. As a bidder, you're going to either a ballroom in the courthouse or typically on the courthouse steps if it's a trustee's sale, and you're bidding. You raise your hand, the high bidder wins, you pay for your bid, and you get the property, whether it's a deed of trust state with a trustee's sale or to judicial foreclosure state, doesn't really make any difference with that. But let's talk about what the business opportunity is. Business opportunity is to buy properties at bargain prices. It's very typical for things to go 15% off of retail, 20% off, 30% off, depending on how competitive your market is. That range of discount is very feasible. And if you're talking about average house in America, which is a little over $400,000 these days, can you imagine saving even 20% off that price? That means you'd pay $300,000 or a little over $300,000 for that $400,000 property. That's a really good deal and very worthwhile. Now, it's not that easy to do. The biggest impediment is that you get a list of properties and there might be 100 properties on that list, but only a few of them are actually going to be sold at the foreclosure auction. Most of them won't be sold. Why? Because someone files a bankruptcy to push off the sale, someone borrows some money and manages to reinstate the loan, they challenge the foreclosure, so things tend to get delayed. So if you're going to be buying a house as a retail buyer at a foreclosure, just be prepared to be flexible. Be prepared that you may have to look at a lot of properties before you get your deal, but in the end, you can get an amazing deal. As an investor, you can obviously have more flexibility. You're going to look at all the properties that are up for sale, decide all the ones you want to bid on. And in my experience, when I do that, typically every 2 to 3 auctions, I'm getting a property at a really great price that I can afford to fix and flip and make a really good profit on. And it's a very good business. Some of the challenges are that you need cash to buy these things. It's not one where you can use a mortgage to buy it because the terms of sale are generally payment same day of sale, certainly within a day or two. So that's not enough time for a mortgage company to work. Plus, there can be title issues and legal fights, and mortgage companies don't want to get in the middle of that. So generally speaking, a mortgage is not a way you're going to do that. So you're going to have to either raise private capital or use your own savings. But wouldn't it be worthwhile if you could buy a $400,000 house for $300,000 or less even? Sure, it would be worthwhile. But that doesn't mean it's free. The other thing with the mortgage foreclosures is there is no open house and there's no help There's no guarantee of anything. And if the property is occupied, that's your problem, not the auctioneer's problem. So you need to learn to deal with those things. Now, some people will, for example, only buy unoccupied property. I had a student who did that. He did great. It was Mark. He did wonderful. He'd buy property every couple months. He would fix them up, sell them, made a really great living. If you buy occupied properties, just be aware that there's typically a separate process. It's a special type of eviction called an ejectment action, where you have to hire a lawyer to go to court and file that. You'll get a judgment, and then you move someone out. Can be expensive. In some states, they actually require you to hire a bonded mover, pack everybody's stuff up, put it in storage for a month. So it can get expensive, but again, the discount is what's making up for that. So I like mortgage foreclosures, just, it's not a game for the uninitiated. If you're gonna play the mortgage foreclosure game, then what I'd suggest is learn how it works in your area. You wanna attend some of the auctions. That's always fun anyway. So just do a simple Google search, very easy to find a mortgage foreclosure in your area. If you're in like one of the Western states where it's a deed of trust, say, just do a search, Trustee's sale, Pahrump, Nevada, and you'd find Trustee's sales. Trustee's sales, Clark County, Nevada, which is where Las Vegas is. You'd find Trustee's sales. And what you'll find with the Trustees is each one has their own website. They advertise the sales that are coming up. They'll tell you the address of the property. They'll tell you the amount of money that's owed. And generally, the auction is going to start at the amount of money is owed. Occasionally, banks will let them go for less, but generally speaking, just plan on whatever amount you see is owed is probably where the auction is starting. So if that represents a good deal, then that's a property to look into. And then the process would be, you look into the property, you make sure that you're dealing with a first lien, which is a first mortgage or first deed of trust. That you need to do a little title research to get. You drive by the property, check it out, knock on the door, see if anybody's home, talk to them about what their plans are. As best you can, get an assessment of the condition of the property. Make sure you look at that carefully because you just don't know. I mean, I walked into one property that I was looking at as a mortgage foreclosure. It was a townhouse style house, which in Philadelphia we call row houses. I was driving by, it looked really nice, a beautiful stone front. I was like, wow, it's a really nice property. But the windows were all, shades were all down. And I just, let me go knock on the door. So I go knock on the door, and the door wasn't fully secured, so the door just pushed open. And you know what was behind it? Like nothing. Basically, the house had had a fire and it had gone through the roof, and the roof, what was left of it, had fallen into the living room where I walked into. It was just a soaking, disgusting mess. The only way I knew that was because I knocked on the door and checked. It was literally like a Hollywood movie set, where they just have the front up. It was like that. So when you're doing these things, just understand there could be a reason that it's going to these sales. So what you need to do is make sure you investigate as thoroughly as you can. Now, you have no right to enter the property. You don't have the right to trespass, push through the door. Obviously, if you knock on the door and it swings open, you can look in, but you're not supposed to go walking around. But this is a business for the bold. This is not one for someone that's just working from the armchair from across the country. You need to look at the property or have someone do that for you. That being said, it can be a great business. Mortgage foreclosures can be the source of great bargains. You can find properties cheap enough to fix and flip. You can find rental properties cheaply so that you're way further ahead if you buy your properties that way. It's really good. Now, I've sort of traded that in myself for something called the overages business. The reason I did that, as much as I like foreclosure sales, I'm not retired, but I don't work like I used to, we'll just say. I own a law firm, I own an overages business, and I do consulting for the Harvard Business School. So I'm no longer running around looking at properties. Instead, I chose a different business called Overages. What that is when a property sells at the auction for more than the amount that is owed, that extra money can be recovered for the former owners. Now, the thing is, the former owners have no idea that this money exists. They have no idea that they could claim any money. So typically what happens is the money just sits there until it forfeits to the government. So what I do is I get lists of the money that's sitting there. I look up the contact information for the people that are owed the money. My team reaches out to them and calls them and says, hey, Fred, there's $50,000 that you qualify to claim. Would you be interested in working with us? For a percentage, we'll go and get you this money. And lots of people sign up with us. Everybody doesn't. Some people don't believe us. That's probably our biggest challenge in this business. Just people like, oh, this impossible. You're a bunch of swindlers. We're not, but sometimes we can't get over that with people. But anyway, we call them up. Some people sign up. The ones that do, we get them a big windfall they never expected. It's a great feeling for me because we're helping people that otherwise are just kicked to the street. and you get a nice lump sum of cash in and you continue. I'm a lawyer and it reminds me of contingent fee legal work, but this is not legal work. This isn't, you don't need to be a lawyer. You just need to be a business person who's willing to be brave enough to reach out and call people. There are thousands of these sales that happen every day. We can do them on mortgage foreclosures. We can do them on tax foreclosures. It's a really great opportunity. And recently there's a Supreme Court decision called Tyler versus Hennepin County, which has greatly expanded the business. I mean, now states that used to sell the houses and keep the money can no longer do that. Now if they sell the house and there's extra money, the homeowner has to have a chance to claim that money. Homeowners don't know about it. They have no idea. So what I do is I teach people this specialized knowledge, how to get the lists of people who owed money, how to find the people, what to say to them when you talk to them on the phone, and then how to go and get that money. It's a really great business. If you're looking for a side business that is inexpensive to start, that just produces lump sums of cash, this is a really cool one. And if you're doing mortgage foreclosures, you really owe it to yourself to do this because you're going to literally watch overages get made as you're sitting there at a sale. Whenever something sells for more than the debt that's owed, that's overages money. And since houses have gone up so much in value over the past couple of years, that overages money can be very substantial. Tens of thousands, occasionally hundreds of thousands. And lately I've seen a couple of over $1 million deals, which are not at all typical, but man, it's really growing. And it's a pretty amazing business. Good business for good-hearted people. Someone wants a side business, someone wants something to do in retirement, or someone that just wants to get out of the rat race. It's really, really great little business. So if you're interested in overages, then check out my Intro to the Overages business video. You'll see a link down below. I'll the editor put a link up on the screen. Click either of them and you can check out this overages business. I do a short 15-minute video here on YouTube where I'll teach you about it and you can see if maybe this is a business you want to take on. I do teach the business, so I'm happy to show it to you. So go check out the Intro to the Overages business and I'll see you over there.